Good evening, lecturer and all lovely classmates. Today is the best day for our group, and it's also our turn to make presentation about Happy Friend. This story will reflect the real thing in our social, even though it is a novel. Before we start our presentation, I would like to introduce my group member. The first, I'm Hojansi.
Hello, I'm Lekana.
Hello, my name Rani.
Hello, my name is Taebun Liang.
Now we should done for the more delay.
Let's get started with our story. Here are our content. 1. About the author. 2. A brief summary. 3. Characteristic analysis. 4. Theme analysis. 5. The major issue and conflict. 6. An explanation of the use of literary device. 7. Reflection.
1. About the author. Oscar Wilde was an Irish poet and playwright. After writing a different form throughout the 1880s, he becomes one of the most popular playwrights in London in the early 1890s. He was born in October 16 in 1854 and he was dead in November 1900 in Paris.
Right.
Summary of the story. Let's enjoy the story together. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful statue of Happy Friend in the town. He was gilded all over with lips of fine gold. For eyes, he had two bright sapphire and a light red ruby glow on his short head. Most people wish to gain a reputation for artistic to get happiness like him. The town people wish themselves happiness as this beautiful print represented. One night, there flew over the city a little swallow. His friend had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind, for he was in love with the most beautiful queen for a long time, until the day he had known that she was so attached. He had known that she was so attached to her soul. She had been tripping with him. When he prepared to sleep, but just as he was putting his head under his wing, a light drop of water fell on him. He said softly, then another drop fell. He is so curious and he determined to fly away. But before he had opened his wing, a third drop fell, and he looked up and saw. Ah, what did he see? The eyes of the happy prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down his golden cheeks.
I am the happy prince. When I was alive and had achievement heart, I don't know what here were, for I live in the palace of Sanssouci, where sorrow is not allowed to enter. Since I have been here, I can see the same thing happening all over the town. But there's nothing I can do to help them, so I'm crying. Now I can see a poor woman and her son is lying ill. He wants to eat orange. He has no money. Can you help me to pick out the puppy from my bird to give her?
So the swallow agreed.
It's so cool out. It's so cool out here, financially.
It it because you need to go eat little swallow.
Next day, Swallow agreed to pick out the Prince Sapphire Eye to give a young man who he worked hard. Get cold without fire and hunger has made him faint. Next day later, the swallow decided completely to Egypt because here is winter and the chill snow soon, but Egypt the sun is warm.
Can you please stay one more night? A little white girl is crying because her mice are all spoiled and her father will with her is not bring some money back. Swallow.
Swallow Swallow agreed and take another print eye to give her.
Now, in my plan, so I visited with animal.
Can you tell me about my people in this city?
Then Swallow flew around the city and had seen the rich, the poor, especially two little boys with stars wing fast into the rain.
I am covered with fine gold, said the prince. You must take it off leaf by leaf and give it to my poor. The little being always think that gold can make them happy.
Now the snow came. Now the snow came, and after the snow came the frost. The poor little swallow grew colder and died near Happy Prince's feet. When bird died, Prince's heart had snapped right in two. Early the next morning, when Happy Prince is shabby, the mayor commanded to pull down the statue to melt into a statue of him, and birds are not to be allowed to die near statue. Then the heart of the prince was abandoned with the dead swallow beside him.
Angel, bring the most beautiful thing in this town.
After all, the prince and swallow who helped people and died went to heaven and lived happily ever after. Characteristic analysis. Happy Prince. Happy Prince is a statue that is perched on a pedestal overlooking the poor town people below, and he feels for the people he sees and tries hard to help everyone he can by giving his riches to the poor people. Little Swallow. Little Swallow is the royal companion of the Happy Prince and distribute all the Happy Prince jewel and gold to the poor people in the town below. Angel. Angel is the task by God to bring something precious back to heaven. God, God is the all-powerful being looking down on the world below. The mayor and the town councilor. The mayor,
Chúc.
the mayor, his narcissistic attitude epitomize the problem of power. He wants to happy print melt down and recast in his own image and issue a proclamation banning birds from dying in public. The town council law represents the deepest corruption in the city. Ignore anything. Other characteristics: the mad girl, the poor, the sick boy and his mother, the boy, the ride, the play, etc.
Themes analysis of the happy brain. 1. Love and compassion. The happy prince, who has always lived a carefree life while he was alive, felt compassionate about his people in town who lived a life in misery and needy. The prince really wanted to help them, but he couldn't move since he was a statue. That is why the prince asked the swallow to stay one night to be his messenger. As in the story, the happy prince saw a sick boy whom his mother can't afford to board him on medicine, so the prince asked the swallow to pick out the great ruby from his sword to help that boy. By being compassionate of those in bad condition, the happy prince was willing to give up his valuable things since those people needed it than he was. Moreover, the swallow became loyal to the prince as he grew to love the prince by his generous manner even though he was a statue. 2. Sacrifice. The statue of the happy prince was high above the city, so he oversaw all the misery in this town. That is why he asked the swallow to be his messenger to devote his belonging for the happiness of the poor people who was in need and ending up become a worthless statue. It was clear that the happy prince had made a sacrifice, so too had the swallow. He also sacrificed his own life to keep the prince company and spread the needy thing for the people in town. Even he knew that the winter was coming soon, and he had to live in order to survive. Yet he still stayed with the prince until the cold of winter killed him. 3. Out of duty. While the happy prince was adorned in finery, he was judged to be a symbol of prosperity in the town. Yet when his finery disappeared and he was no longer looked as attractive as he had previously been, the high-rank people, also the rich, wanted to remove him, and they finally decided to melt him down. He was died at the time, but his kind-hearted kept alive. Even though he lost his outward beauty, but with his delicate heart, or the heart was full of sympathy for the needy, he earned a spiritual duty which chosen by the God. Considerably, the outer duty was nothing, and the real duty was from the inside, which was willing to help the needy. 4. True friendship. The prince in the story shared a great bond of friendship and respect with the little swallow, as we can see through the short story. Whatever the prince commands, the swallow follow his order rightly without leaving him. For example, the happy prince was ready to devote his both eyes, sapphire, to his people, even he know he will be blinded. However, the swallow willing to stay by his side to be his both eye, and told all the story which happened around the town to the prince. The friendship they had was so true and loyal. That's why in the end they become the most precious thing in the city chosen by the angel and the God. Finally, they ended up living a life of eternally in the heaven together. 5. The spoiled society and selfishness. The story shows the great bond between the poor and the rich people in society. While the rich people can enjoy their life without worrying in anything, yet the poor people live a miserable life, and the selfishness of those in authority had made the town more miserable for poor people since they can't receive any help from those who can afford or live a prosperous life. Rather than looking After their own citizens who struggled with their living, they only thought of themselves and ignored the poverty that existed in the town. While the happy prince who had a leaden heart was willing to sacrifice his belongings, including his eyesight, in order to help the people in town so that they were able to survive in a short period of time. The story also reflected about the society at that time, the selfishness of the rich people who completely unaware of anything that the poor people had struggled.
5. Major conflict of the story. The happy prince felt guilty for his people. He had a beautiful life and he lived without the sorrow, while he did not know at all about the poverty, starving, suffer, ugliness, and all the mystery of his society. Now he felt guilty and powerless to help those people after his death. Second, is irresponsibility of the leadership. As the Happy Prince was a royal family, but they seemed the lack of education due to they never took charge of their people lived by widespread poverty and misery. Instead of this, they still enjoy their life without worrying or caring anything in the society at all. In the society, both fulfilled by the materialism and individualism in the luxurious life of the rich was displayed clearly and the such important was not the top of everything and that result in the ignorance of the poor life. The third is the selfishness of Happy Prince. He broke his swallow's dream by the tender little swallow to stay with him until he died. Absolutely, Swallow wished to meet his family companion to visit all the museums in the Asia.
3.
So the solution, the Happy Prince wanted to sacrifice himself and somehow to give back to all of those he was unable to reach. And as the follow had the statue, he was made of the gold. One, take out of the rubbish, he gave it to the sim- he gave it to the seamstress whose son was a fever and she had fallen asleep as she was so tired. Second, sacrifice his eye. He sent the sapphire to for two people. The first is a young writer who was no fire and the cat and great hunger and made him faint, so he could not write anymore. And so when he get the sapphire, so he can sell it and buy firewood and the fish and finish his play. The second, the girl who was standing in the square just below him, she had let her smart fall on the gutters because out of which they were all spoiled. The prince knew that her father would be with her if she did not bring some money home. Third, take off his leaf of the fine gold. The happy prince knew that beggars were starving and he wanted to make everyone's life better, so he asked the follower to take off his gold leaf and give it to the hunger and the homeless children in his town.
Literary devices. 1. Personification. It is a kind of metaphor in which the non-human quality are attributed to a person. The Jews make a person more expensive and a real thing become more expensive. Personification also used in the story. The writer personified the statue of Happy Prince and Swallow. Thus, living human being measures and concealers symbolize the hypocrisies of Victorian age. They talk with each other like human because they fit the misery of living creature which human being is ignoring. 2. Use of simile. In simile, one object is likened to the other to enrich an image. The comparison is flexed as his hands are like withered leaves are red as pomegranate, pomegranate, as blue as the great sea, who is as black as ebony. They have eyes like green berries. While has said different vision or visual imaginary as the street look as if they were made of silver. They were so bright and glittering, long icicles like crystal dagger. 3. Symbolic title. The story also has symbolic title. The title of the story is The Happy Prince, but inwardly it is not happy at all. He feels sorrow, pity for the common people. So, so he is not happy as title is symbolic. 4. Irony. In this story, the writer mentioned about a situation irony. Oscar Wilde has used the term irony in this story. He has shown the contrast between rich and poor people. Swallow flew over the city, and saw the rich taking Mary in their beautiful houses, while the beggars were sitting at the gates. These lines show that rich people do not care about the poor people. They were enjoying the sight, they living in their palace and do not know about the condition of poor people. What is the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain out? 5. Characterization. The brain is described as exceedingly, sorry, uh, exceedingly beautiful with golden skin, sapphire for eye, and a ruby on his short hair. Although his, although his external beauty impresses everyone around him, he sees that beauty has always faded. His true worth lies in his compassion for his town people and his willingness to sacrifice for them. The main characters are flat and simple because we do not see any sudden, drastic change or reversal in their characteristic features. The characteristic, uh, the characterization is direct and the writer talk about them directly. There is a third-person narration. The author gives thorough and detailed information about characters and their feelings. Take themes. The story carries various themes such as A. Love. The compassion of the statue for other people and verse follow depicts great and sensitive feeling. The brains feel away everything to have people and swallow and bring their fantastic loved ones. B. Sacrifice. While the brain gives away his rapid eye and golly, the, the little swallow sacrificed his life to serve humanity. The bird did not reach exit to meet its companions, instead stayed with the brain in harsh cold weather and at last died at the feet of the statue. C. Appearances can be deceptive. The story has a great lesson to teach us. It portrays a statue coated in gold, but basically it is made up of lead. The appearance was grand, but when all when all gold coating came off, the statue looked ugly. And another thing associated with It is that the prince was happy when he was alive and enjoyed his will. By the time he saw human beings suffering, he was saddened. He was saddened by the poverty and pain around him, the exploitation and hypocrisy of a ruling class of society. The theme is by pain in story at the mayor and his member of office charge the statue and choose to pull it down as devoured eloquently. Also, the happy prince lived in his palace not knowing the misery of human beings as he never bothered to look beyond the usual wall of his palace. The rich live lavishly and the poor are not treated well. He, through friendship, the prince in the story shares a great bond of friendship and respect with the little swallow. Whatever the prince comments, the swallow followed the author religiously. The friendship they had was so true and loyal that they were put in heaven together. 7. Symbol. The swallow is a symbol of loyalty and friendship as he remained with the prince and helped him fulfill his wishes. The lead hat of the prince is the symbol of love and immortality as it did not melt and was placed with the dead swallow. The mayor and his council member are a symbol of authority and repression. The old woman, a young playwright, and the girl represent the poor section of society who suffered and strive hard to earn a living.
Reflection, difficulty and challenge. Difficulty and challenge. Difficult vocabulary, especially descriptive words, and misunderstand and hardly imagine the plot of story. To overcome this, at first it was difficult, so I tried to read it and watch the story animation in YouTube and then return to read it again. This truly helped me visualize the storyline that was described in the textbook. Second is useful ideal and hidden mistake. You cannot stay too long for what is not meant for you, but if it means to be, it will be. Swallow Heart was affected by the Happy Brain generous devotion to the people. The brain gave up everything he owned. The brain had gone blind after giving away the two sapphires in his eye to go in it. The swallow, moved by kindness and eager to help him, decided to be with the brain at all the time. In order to achieve something great, you will have to sacrifice something great. In order to make his people feel brighter and his people got out of poverty, the brain had to decline himself until he was completely dull and great. And three, other values from the story. You don't know the story unless you are in someone's shoes. How can the brain be so devoted and then prosperous, while the people who are so poor are implied by the story? We all know that the brain and the wealthy people have a better standard of living than the poor. However, what we see in the story is how far apart they are. When the king was alive, he lived in a pleasant life in his palace where no grief could penetrate. But the poor people live in agony. Furthermore, the author said a mistake that led to happiness would bring to the world that love and charity, with how the unique potential to bring men and women together to make them whole, made and scan the full picture of modern society. And the last one is quotation. People living conditions in the country as well as around the world should be closely monitored and everyone should be granted the right to live equitably. And everything is connected. It could be a lesson that leads us to see the world differently and made us change something in our life. Because in the story, when the brain alive, he was happy brain because he connect only beautiful things around him with a high voltage block and decent thing in the outside. But after that, when he was made into a statue, tears flow down his eyes on seeing the ugliness and the misery of the city. Their different conditions things connected and then make him different.
Now we have already finished our presentation. Thank you for paying our attention, your attention. Please lecturer and all classmates, good health, good luck and stay safe. Thank you.